Hi, how you doing today? I came across something really interesting while I was scrolling Facebook yesterday, and it was an interview involving Dale Earnhardt Jr., where he was talking about something that happened to him 21 years ago, back in 2004, where he was involved in a car wreck during a test run for the American Le Mans Series down in Sonoma. And the Corvette he was driving, it had like an issue with the fuel injector. And so when he got in a car wreck, his car just instantly burst into flames, and he was briefly unconscious. And he managed to come to consciousness and pull himself out of the car, and he suffered minor burns. But he was saying in the interview that he felt like his dad was with him there during that car wreck. Because he could have sworn he felt somebody wrap their arms under his shoulders and pull him out of the car. And if you see the footage, I mean, obviously, you come to consciousness, you're in a car that's on fire, you're going to get the heck out of there pretty fast. But it is interesting. Like, he is moving in such a way that it does seem like he is being pulled. But, you know, it's old camera footage. Hard to say, but it does look like it. And so that really intrigued me. And so I thought, let's do a chart. And with this chart, I can show you all something I do whenever I have a customer talk to me about paranormal interference, or if they felt that the spirit of a loved one was with them, or if they wonder about what a loved one that has passed away would think about a certain situation. This is a little trick I use quite often. So let's just take a look at this chart really quick. We see that the ascendant is Leo, which means Dale is represented by the sun in the 12th house. So that would be him being unconscious. We also see we have a Scorpio IC. Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Pluto. And so we have Mars in the 12th house, very close to the ascendant. And we also have Pluto trining that in the 5th house. Leo's the natural sign of the 5th house. And, you know, the 5th house covers things that we love to do. Dale loves racing. It's a passion of his. And so we see these signifiers of death doing something you love. So that's definitely really interesting because, you know, the IC represents our death. It's the tomb. It's the end of the matter. And so that's definitely very interesting. But also we see that Mercury is just 2 degrees away from the ascendant. And so, you know, Mercury and Mars both represent vehicles, because, you know, vehicles made of metal. Mercury, transportation. And these 2 planets surround the ascendant, very close to the ascendant, close enough to be conjunct each other. So that's also quite interesting. But another very interesting thing here is Neptune, the natural planet that rules over the 12th house, and a planet that I often look to when I'm looking at spirits and what they may be doing. You know, Neptune, the unknowable, and it is opposing that moon, Mars, and Mercury over there. Very interesting. But here's the trick that I do that I was mentioning a minute ago. There are so many asteroids out there that are named and are tracked, and you can add them in to your charts. And a bunch of them just have normal everyday names. And so whenever somebody mentions a spirit that of a loved one and their relevance to the chart is important, I will look for an asteroid that shares a name with that particular person. Now, there wasn't just an asteroid named Dale or Earnhardt. There were similar named asteroids, but Dale isn't actually his first name. His first name is Ralph. And so I looked for the asteroid Ralph. And where is that? It's in Libra in the 3rd house. 21 degrees Libra in the 3rd house. 3rd house, the natural house ruled by Mercury. And Mercury, transportation, cars. exactly sextiling Mercury as well, by the way. Also sextiling Mars, sextiling Pluto. Even more interesting than that, though, is the midheaven is Taurus. The midheaven represents our father, and both Libra and Taurus are ruled by Venus. Where is Venus? In the 10th house, in Gemini, the natural sign of the 3rd house, ruled by Mercury. Transportation, cars. Isn't that interesting? But what's even more interesting is look what's going on here. There is a mystic rectangle between Venus and Mars and Mercury and Pluto and Neptune. So we have Venus in the 10th house of the father. Also, 10th house being in the public eye. We have Mars in the 12th house and Mercury in the 1st house, and on both sides of the ascendant there. We have Neptune in the 6th house, also a house ruled by Mercury. And we have Pluto in the 5th house there. So was Dale Earnhardt there, helping keep his son alive? It certainly looks like it, doesn't it? So I find that incredibly fascinating. We also see that Venus is a T-square there to Jupiter and Uranus. And let's see, the opposing of that would be in the 4th house, very close to Pluto. So, yes, it definitely looks like Dell was involved. That's almost a grand cross there, but Uranus and Pluto are not quite close enough to form any sort of aspect to each other. So it's not a full grand cross, but there is 2 T-squares involved. And so it is very fascinating. What I find most fascinating, though, is right there where Moon, Sun, and Mars are all in the 12th house, because Moon rules Cancer. Cancer is where Sun is, and it's also where Saturn is. Saturn also represents our fathers. And so there is a lot of 12th house influence here, preventing any sort of possible death. It does look like Dell was unconscious, and his dad helped urge him out of the car, the spirit of his father. What do you all think? I find stuff like this very fascinating. This is another chart that I didn't really bother reading first. I plugged it in and then I just went straight to video. So there's a lot to dig in here, but I've already rambled on for 8 minutes. And so let's take a look at this chart together. What do you guys see? Do you think that there's anything interesting in this chart that I may not have touched on? I can go into a little bit more detail about the T-squares, but I think that we really covered the most important bases with just discussing the asteroid Ralph and the 12th house and the mystic rectangle. I think that's where the real story is. Fascinating stuff. But anyways, I hope you all have a wonderful day. And as always, if you would like to book a reading with me, you can do so at www.dhastrology.com. Have a good night.